Hey Renaissance! If you do one thing before your students arrive next week, it should be to set up your Google Classroom. Now, the classes themselves should already be made for you by our Red Door team. All you need to do is to log on to classroom.google.com and make sure you're logged into your work account, otherwise this space is going to be empty. Now, you should see all of your classes, but their naming's a little bit funny. It's absolutely fine for you to change that. Just click the More Options icon and Edit. Here you can call them whatever you like. Now, when you enter your class, the first thing you should do is to head on over to People and make sure these students have been imported for you by the Red Door. If they have, you're welcome. If they haven't, send me an email and we'll fix it right away. Now, if there's anyone else that you'd like to share the classroom with, perhaps an LET, co-teacher or unit leader, you can add them here. If on day one you find that one or two students have not been added to your classroom, you can add them here. Or you can share a join code with them. That can be found over at your class stream if you click About. Here's the join code, which you can enlarge by hitting this icon here. If your students head on over to classroom.google.com, they can then join your class by entering this code. You'll see that a theme has been generated for you quite randomly. I don't think a guitar is really the best theme for our science course, so I'm going to select an image from the gallery that's a little bit more appropriate for now. However, once I meet my class, I think a nice class building activity might be to take a class picture together, which I can then upload as a photo by clicking here. Now, for those of you familiar with Google Classroom, you'll notice a few changes. Firstly, there's no longer an About section. Instead, there's a Classwork section, and this is where you create assignments and questions for your class. I'm going to cover assignments in a later video because there's a lot to them. Right now, we're really focusing on the initial setup. So the first thing you're going to want to do in the Classwork section is to create your containers for questions and assignments. These containers are called topics, but they can really be anything that's going to differentiate the assignments and questions from one another. The most obvious being the units they belong to, and that's what I've decided to use. If you're new, you should be able to find your units for your class on both Phi and ManageBack. Now, the last two things I'm going to do are to create a warm-up question that my class will answer during their introduction to Classroom. I don't want any eager students answering before the lesson, so I'm going to schedule it to post just in time for our first lesson together. Secondly, I'm going to create a welcome announcement that contains the inquiry document that I made in our first video together, which I'll link below.